Hey, we're going to do some art together again. And today what we are going to be learning about is a collagraph. Now, I'm sure you've heard of printmaking. Printmaking like screen printing, like what some people do on t-shirts. And an artist, a famous artist that is associated with screen printing is Andy Warhol, where he took a soup can and printed it with several bright colors, and that was all through screen printmaking. Another exciting type of printmaking is relief printing. Some of you may have done that before, where you cut like a linoleum block and then you put the ink on it and then you print it. And some artists do that using a pressing bed. A very simplistic version of a relief print would be like a rubber stamp, how it is grooved out to make the design. Like this is supposed to be a little teacup in the end, or sorry, teapot in the end. But what you don't want printed is cut out, and then what it will be printed is there. So that would be a relief print. Now today we're going to make a collagraph, which Kala in the original language means glue, and then graph means drawing, and so essentially it's kind of drawing in a way with glue, or gluing things down to a surface. It really is the real way that it's made. So let me explain how it's made a little bit more, But first, they're going to choose their supplies. The artist will choose their supplies, and it could be a number of various supplies, but you want it to be something sturdy enough to hold up to the printmaking ink that would be used, which is like a thick ink that would be kind of almost painted onto the surface of the collagraph. And then secondly, you're going to make the collagraph, which means that you have to take your supplies and you glue it down onto a very sturdy paper or cardboard. And then you are going to ink it. And like I said, you're using like a special type of ink that is made for printmaking. And then you're going to print the collagraph by pressing it into, it's called a pressing bed actually. And it's a very large machine. And you use these if you're doing professional collagraph making. Now, don't want to make you scared, like, I don't have one of these machines and I don't have this special ink at home. How am I supposed to do this art project? Don't worry. Our version is a little bit different. I'm calling it a crayon rubbing collagraph. So what we are going to do is we are going to make our collagraph out of supplies that we may have around our house, like maybe yarn or buttons or paper that you can cut into designs, or cardboard. And everybody, I am certain, has some kind of cardboard around their house. I mean, think of like when you buy soda cans, they come in a cardboard casing. Your tissues are in cardboard. I used, in my example, one thing I used was the box from my pasta that I had for dinner the other night. I didn't use the pasta, but that would be another item that you could use, is pasta glued to your cardboard. Oh, cereal boxes. I'm sorry. I know. I'm backing up a little bit, but talking about cardboard, cereal boxes. I mean, the options are just really endless. I mean, just get your brain thinking about something that has a little bit of a raised surface to it, like that yarn's a little bit raised, that pasta a little bit raised, but it's not so raised that it's going to be difficult to run your crayon over and get a texture off of that. So think through it and figure out some supplies that you could use, and then you will also need some type of glue. Stick glue, liquid glue, something like that to glue everything down. And then whatever other supplies that you can find that you could put onto your collagraph to have a crayon relief of it. So without further ado, let me just get started on this project, so that way you can see what I mean, and then you can give it a whirl of your own and see if you love making collagraphs, or if you're like, I really like drawing a lot better than this type of art, because this is going to be a little bit more textile and hands-on and a little bit different than drawing or painting. So just give it a try and see what happens. I hope you like it. I hope you have fun today, and thank you for joining. So as I said, you could use whatever supplies you think might work well for this. I had some yarn, so I will use that for one of the collagraphs that I show you how to do today. Another thing I had was a circle cutter, but if you don't have a circle cutter, you could just cut circles. I'll also be using tape, glue, and of course I had said about using cardboard. So I'll be using some cardboard today, and my cardboard's just leftover recycled cardboard, and then the paper that we'll be using to make the actual print on. So I hope you have fun with this project. The first collagraph that I will make, I will be using cardboard, yarn, tape, and scissors. So what I'm going to first do is cut about 20 pieces of yarn. That's just a rough estimate. I want to make sure that they will fit on my cardboard from corner to corner, and then I use the first piece that I cut to cut all the rest. So let me speed this up a little bit while I cut this yarn, and then we'll get back to it. Now that I have all my yarn cut, my first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off some little pieces of tape, not very big, and get those ready to use. So then I take my yarn and I want to attach this to the back. I don't want the tape to actually be on the front. This isn't about making the front look good, but it's more about that the crayon would pick up the edge of the tape, and I don't want that tape in my design. Maybe you do. Maybe you want tape as part of your design, and that's an option. But for me, for right now, I'm just using the yarn as my design. So I'm taping on the back. And this is a design that I saw another artist that had done something similar with an actual collagraph, and so I kind of wanted to try to do it with yarn instead and see if I could achieve that. That other artist's name is Anna Curtis. If you ever want to look her up, she has her own web page, and she describes in exact detail how to make a collagraph, and she does it in a professional studio and has pictures of her pressing bed and everything, so it's really interesting. She actually has some videos on there and whatnot, so it's worthwhile looking up. So now I'm just pre-cutting some little pieces of tape, and I actually just rip them. I don't use my scissors because it takes less time in this type of tape. It's just painter's tape, or you could use masking tape if you have that available, that it rips really easy. So just trying to get ready for doing this a little bit faster. So with my design, I'm going to continue taping on the back and making these yarn strips just go around. Basically, I want it to kind of look like a big star or asterisk type of design with about 20 spokes to it, or maybe you think of like a bicycle wheel without the outer wheel part. So while I'm making that, I'm going to kick it into high speed mode because I don't want to cut into your creativity time too much. I just want to give you this informational video and then allow you the most amount of time for you to create. So now we are ready to make our print. We will need a piece of regular printing paper or drawing paper or even notebook paper, whatever you have available, and a crayon. Like I said, if you don't have a crayon, another option could be chalk. You first need to peel the crayon, and it did take me a little bit. I heard if you wet the crayon paper, it helps. After you're finished taking the crayon paper off, there's just one more thing we need to do before we officially make our print of this collagraph, and that is to tape the collagraph plate to the paper, just so that it doesn't move a whole bunch. It doesn't need to be super secure or anything. It's just so that the paper doesn't move on the collagraph. Then I'm going to flip it back over to the white side of the paper. I'm going to grab my crayon, I'm going to lay it on its side, and I'm going to press down as I move my crayon across this so that it is picking up the texture that I created on the collagraph. Now you can peel this piece of paper off once you're finished and put a new piece of paper on and print it again. The great thing is you can print it again and again, use different color crayons or different color chalks, and have lots of different printings.
The next type of collagraph I will make on a box that was left over from my pasta, like I told you, and I'm going to draw out a design. So I just looked up a lily flower on the internet so that I had something to look at while I did this, and then I am drawing out that flower on my cardboard. Now the difference between just a flat drawing, like if you are used to drawing everything is flat, in a collagraph, is you're going to draw out the pieces and try to kind of layer them. So you can see I'm drawing each piece separately, the petals and then the stamens, which are the part that carries the pollen, and then the lines that would be in the middle of the petals. They are all going to be separate pieces that I will cut out. Once you are finished cutting out your pieces, you want to lay them out in the arrangement that you will want to glue, and then pick each one up by itself and put glue on it and lay it back down. Like I said, it is good to layer these, so I'm laying them over top, the petals over top of each other a little bit. And after that, then I will put the little petal lines on the middle of each petal. And it's not a big deal what side sticks up, whether it's the side of your recycled cardboard or the brown side. And then I put the stamens in, and so this is all going to give like a layered effect, and whenever I run my crayon over it, it'll pick up all these different layers that are over top of each other. After you let it dry, and I let mine dry overnight to make sure that liquid glue was really nice and dry, it is time for printing this one. So you again need to just tape it loosely to the back of that white paper. Then you grab your crayon and you press down with a firm pressure, and you run your crayon over it to get your printed collagraph. For the next type of collagraph, I will be using a piece of cardboard that was on the bottom of some cans of tomato sauce. I'll also be using my cutter of circles, which if you don't have a circle cutter, you could just trace some cups or something else that you have that is round, like some lids of something, and cut those out. I just happen to have these circle cutters here at my house, and so I like to use them in projects every so often. The nice thing about this piece of cardboard that was on the bottom of my cans is that it is corrugated, so that's going to give us a little bit of a different design. And it also has these round circles on it as a nice guide of where I want to put my circles. So you just, once again, you go through, you get all your supplies ready, and then you want to set up your collagraph like you would want it, and then I'm using a glue stick here to attach the circles and cutting down my original cardboard a little bit. And so that collagraph plate is ready for printing. Again, to print, you're going to tape the collagraph plate to your paper that you want to print on, and then you flip it over, you use your crayon, and you push down with pressure while rubbing your crayon. And as you can see with this one, it is picking up those really cool vertical marks from it being corrugated cardboard that this was made of. So it gives it a little bit of a different design, and I'm really liking how this one is looking. So remember, you can do your collagraph with whatever supplies you have around your house. You don't have to do any of these. You could try one of these. Just have fun and create and enjoy the process. And one last thing I don't want to forget to mention is take that collagraph panel off of the back of your paper once you're done with printing. Thanks for creating with me.